Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to rise today to speak in support of Bill 13, Keeping Canada's Economy and Job Growing Act, as introduced by my colleague, the Minister of Finance. Since the last federal election, I have heard a common message from constituents, business owners, and community leaders alike. They have said again and again that they want our government to continue to focus on strengthening the economy and creating jobs for Canadians. Through the Economic Action Plan, our Conservative government delivered a record $60 billion in investments across Canada to aid Canadians and businesses during the worst global recession since the Great Depression. Through these investments, the leadership shown by our Prime Minister, Canada has seen 7 straight quarters of economic growth, one of the strongest fiscal positions amongst the world's top-performing and advanced economies. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, Canada has seen a record 600,000 jobs plus created since July 2009, with over 80% of them being full-time jobs. Clearly, our Economic Action Plan is working and is putting Canadians back into the jobs that they want and need. But, Mr. Speaker, the good news doesn't stop there. On October 7th, Statistics Canada further reinforced that our action plan is working. In September of this year, Canada saw employment rise by 61,000 new jobs, almost all of which were full-time jobs. This increase pushed our national unemployment rate to the lowest it has been since December 2008, down to 7.1%. These jobs were spread across a number of industries such as education services, accommodation services, natural resources, and public administration, all of which provide meaningful employment opportunities to Canadians. But, Mr. Speaker, the good news doesn't stop there. Last Friday, our good friends at Statistics Canada further reinforced the action plan is delivering to Canadians the way our Prime Minister and ministers had envisioned to. In August this year, manufacturing sales rose by 1.4% to $47.6 billion, which is the highest level we have seen since October 2008. Mr. Speaker, despite this good news, I find it ironic that the New Voice of Quebec, as they call themselves, the official opposition, has and continues to vote against every economic measure this government makes. After all, it was Quebec that saw one of the highest increases in manufacturing sales, 3.5% to be exact, to $11.8 billion. And for every realist in this House, we know that magnificent increase is due to the stimulus this government made in industries such as manufacturing and industries in our markets and our economy. Yet the opposition continues to vote against our economic plan. Mr. Speaker, when good news like this is released, they are the first ones to claim how they did this, or that the attempt to take credit for it. Let us not be fooled. The facts are there. The Economic Action Plan is working, and we need to stay the course to ensure that we continue to lead the G7 and G20 colleagues in coming out of this economic recession. So why won't the opposition see that and join us in building a more vibrant, stronger and better economy by supporting this bill? Mr. Speaker, our government tabled the Economic Action Plan, which have seen enhancements in a vast array of sectors. The economy, the programs of services, the Government of Canada delivers to its citizens, and the leadership our country has taken on the global financial stage. Whether it is extending programs to help keep businesses, keeping workers on the job and gainfully employed, or enhancing benefits to seniors in our country, Canadians know that they can count on this Conservative government to deliver for Canadians. Supporting job creation, families, communities, and investing in innovation and education will continue to be important pillars of our government's economic plan. And even with all these continued investments to help the Canadians who are most in need, the Minister of Finance is still on track to balance Canada's budget. A miracle, Mr. Speaker? I think not. It is clearly the result of sound fiscal management, expenditure, review, and proper economic management by the government, our ministers, and the Prime Minister. As stated a few moments ago, supporting job creation has and will continue to be the top priority of our government. From providing one-time credit of up to $1,000 to small businesses to encourage additional hiring, to enhancing and extending the successful programs such as the Work Sharing Program and the Wage Earner Protection Program, our Conservative government is focusing on sustaining and creating jobs across this nation, while improving government services and programs so that they are delivered efficiently, effectively and affordably to Canadians. Mr. Speaker, our great initiatives don't stop there. We have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the economic sector that are important to our country and our economic recovery. From innovation, agriculture, energy, manufacturing, forestry and tourism, Canadian businesses know that they can count on our government to deliver the best balance to keep their doors open, business flowing, and to aid them in hiring Canadians. And that, Mr. Speaker, is what it's all about, building our economy to create new jobs for Canadians, young and old alike. But, Mr. Speaker, our focus hasn't only been on business. We're focused on two other things that are also important to Canadians, their families and their communities. That is why the government has put into law the permanent investment annually of $2 billion in gas tax funding for cities to support their infrastructure programs and projects that matter most to them. In my riding of Don Valley East, this has enabled the City of Toronto to plan and prioritize local projects because they know they will have the stable funding to better our city and our local communities' infrastructure. Building strong and more vibrant communities has been a priority of our government, Mr. Speaker, and in Don Valley East I am confident to say it is evident. In addition, it was our government that introduced the new Children's Art Tax Credit, which enables parents to claim up to $500 for programs associated with arts, culture and recreation and development. Why do we do this? Because we know that the child's education and intellectual growth happens not only inside the four walls of the classroom, but also in the extracurricular activities that they do in the mornings and after school or on weekends. Just as important, Mr. Speaker, is what we did for the most needing seniors, over 680,000 of them to be exact. In the budget, we took action to enhance the guaranteed income supplement that enables seniors to receive additional annual benefits of up to $600 for singles, seniors, and up to $840 for couples. Our parents and grandparents worked hard for many years to build Canada into a great nation. It is today, and when it comes to keeping their money where it belongs, in their pocket. They know they can count on the Conservative government to deliver without reckless spending like the opposition proposes. Mr. Speaker, I think that one of the most important investments our government has made in Bill C-13 was the new family caregiver tax credit that alleviates the financial burden on families who have loved ones that are not well. As someone with parents who are seniors, I find it reassuring to know that a family member had to take care of them, that the government will recognise their sacrifice by providing them a tax credit when they have to file their returns with the government. As we all know, Mr. Speaker, families should always come first, and I believe the government and the ministers have made it clear in this budget and through all our programs and services we have created or enhanced. As a former professor of Centennial and Seneca College in Toronto, Mr. Speaker, I strongly support the investments in innovation and education and training that Bill C-13 makes. After speaking with former colleagues of mine, I know they too applaud the government's investment and commitment to education, innovation and research. As you know, education and training provide our young citizens with bright and vibrant and encompass opportunities for their future.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? L'honorable
The honourable member for Brossard-La Prairie. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague for his speech. However, I do not share his enthusiasm. He says that everything is going fine. I don't agree.
Good, but we seem to be forgetting that there is a slowdown, especially in Canada in terms of growth. And especially we seem to forget that there's 1.4 million people who are without jobs here in Canada. And if you look at people who are not looking for jobs and who are actually just out of it, we're talking about 1.7 million people. We're talking about 17.2% of unemployment for youth. So can the member explain how things are so well when right now there's a big difference between the rich and the poor, and the difference is getting bigger and bigger as the IMF will state? Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
I thank my colleague for the question. Clearly, if we hadn't taken any economic action, this problem would be way bigger than it is. We have created over 650,000 new jobs, and the opportunities are growing month over month. Last month, 61,000 new jobs were created, and we'll be continuing to create jobs despite the slowdown that's going on.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, over the weekend, I was over at the Maples Community Centre, and there was a group of seniors that were there. And one of the discussion items was in regards to pension incomes, that the feeling that is shared amongst opposition members is that we are not providing enough for our seniors, and that they need to have more support, financial support. And my question to the member is that surely he recognizes that we are not providing enough to support our seniors. Can he give some sort of an indication as to what he believes would be a move going forward in terms of how it is that we can provide additional supplement for our seniors so it's easier for them to live?
Honourable member for Don Valley East.
Once again, thank you for that question from the opposition there. Clearly, this government has already done many things for seniors. We've actually introduced higher GIS payments. We've introduced income splitting and a number of other measures that are already in place and helping them. There will never be enough money for everybody, but certainly this government has done more than almost any other government for our seniors.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I look at how things were in 2008, and I look at how things are in 2011, and certainly we do have some concerns as we look at the global economy, but we take some great comfort in terms of where Canada is and our position in the world. And I can look at the writing of Kamloops Thompson Caribou, where the headlines today were focused on the increased shipments to China of our forestry products, and we see the mills reopening. So perhaps I could ask the member to reflect in his writing how things have changed over the last couple of years, Economic Action Plan 1, and how Phase 2 is actually going to help the constituents of his riding.
Honourable member for Don Valley East.
Thank you very much for that question. And clearly, in my riding, it's having a big impact. Just recently, I spoke in the House about a new business that was opening up, and 40 new jobs have been created by that business in my riding. A great step forward, and the assistance that we're giving to small businesses, which is where a lot of the jobs are being created, is having a big effect in my riding.
We have time for a very short question and response. Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Brossard-La Prairie.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the honourable member just a final quick question regarding investment in infrastructure. When the finance minister says that the benefit of investing in infrastructure is 5 times more than reducing corporate tax, can the member explain why he still support corporate tax cut? Thank you very much.
Member for Don Valley East.
Regardless of the tax cuts, this government has made gas tax money to the tune of $2 billion available to the local cities and corporations to support that. And that is, I think, a great investment in our infrastructure.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat.